Good evening, curling world. Welcome back to the fifth and final draw of our second day of play here at the ADELBODEN International 2021 edition. My name is Lorna Rettig and I will be hosting us through our featured game this evening in the round robin. And that is Team Klima from Czech Republic against Team Hess from Switzerland. This is our fifth draw today. There'll be a few tired limbs out there. This is the second edition of ADELBODEN International. I hope you were able to join us last year. We had some really super games to watch last year. And we've been off to a good start this year as well. Now, do not adjust your set. Your eyes do not deceive you. This is Team Jan Hess, but if you were watching earlier on, you would have seen our game of that was between the featured game was between Team Hösli of Glukovh here in Switzerland against Team Walstad of Norway, and you would have noticed that there was a swap going on. And what has happened is the following: this team, the Swiss team here, these four boys, they will be representing Switzerland at the Universiade. So what they have done is they switched out Marco Hösli, who is right in front of you. Your eyes do not deceive you. He is typically the skip and fourth thrower for Team Hösli. And he has swapped places for the weekend with Yves Stocker, who is the normal second thrower for Team Hess, to give these four some practice together before the Universiade. So summon your brains. Don't get confused. And I shall remind us of that to keep us on track. So I'm sure we shall have Daniel Hösli joining us again. He saw a good win for the other Hösli brother, Philip, playing with Yves Stocker, as we said. They had a super win just after lunchtime over Team Stefan Walstad. Really strong performance they had there, and that was a 7-2 final score they had. They were really always in control of that game. Team Walstad, again, as we saw in in Baden a couple of weeks ago, Team Walstad having a bit of a rocky start to their competition. We saw that a little bit, as I said, in Baden a couple of weeks ago. Their first game was against Peter de Cruz, but a happy win for Team Hösli with super sub Yves Stocker. And let's see how the other team who have switched members. Let's see how Team Hess, featuring Marco Hösli, let's see how they get on this weekend. All of the mentioned teams, we saw them in Baden 2 weeks ago in their normal constellation. So Team Jan Hess, they made the quarterfinals. Team Hösli, the Marco, who's skipping now, they were just a few centimetres away from making the quarterfinal. They finished on the same points as Team Hess, and Team Klima, our Czech guests in front of us in our feature game today. They didn't pick up any wins in Baden, but goodness me, it was not for lack of trying. They gave all the teams their trouble. I think they pushed just about everyone to the last stone of the 8th end, but the stones weren't quite falling for them in the right way. But I'm sure Klima team will be hoping to build on that performance from Baden and pick up a few wins in this competition. In the first end here then, of Team Klima from Czech Republic against Team Hess of Switzerland. Team Hess have the hammer in the first end as a result of a superior draw shot challenge. That means after their last game, they both throw one shot to see who gets last stone in the next round. The result there was a superior draw shot challenge for Team Hess, and actually that is how they qualified for the quarterfinals a couple of weeks ago in Baden. We had fully 7 teams for 2 places the final 2 quarter-final places in Baden. 7 teams all on the same points, and that went to draw shot challenge, and Team Hess won that. So keeping up that good form with their draw shot challenge by the look of it, Team Hess. And they have hammer, they have the last stone in this first end. They are throwing red stones and wearing blue uniforms. And Team Klima, they do not have last stone in this first end. They are throwing yellow stones and wearing those white uniforms. So stones in play already in this first end. We love to see it. And that's a really nice shot from sub-skip Marco Hösli there. We shall say hello to the teams just after this first end. Certainly, if you're a Hösli Brothers fan, you're getting 2 for the price of 1 today. 2 games for the price of 1. So I am also now just working out which constellation or which throwing arrangement this Team Hess has. It looks like Marco is skipping but potentially throwing third stones, and it looks like Jan Hess is vice skip. That's Jan holding the brush just now and throwing fourth stones. Let's confirm that a wee bit later. As we mentioned earlier on, you see this more often, particularly in the modern game today. It's not always the person who's strong at throwing fourth. That's not always the same person who is maybe the best skip or the best tactician. And that's completely fine. You can throw in whichever order you want, as long as you stick to it. And it doesn't have to be as it was in the old days. It was typically the skip was also throwing fourth stones. There's a lot to be said for that. You're the one who has to get that last stone, those last 2 shots correct. There's nobody throwing after you. So it can help if you're the one calling the tactics as well. But we see that more often, splitting that responsibility. And it looks like this hybrid team seems to be in good spirits. You can see Jan and Marco chatting there behind the back line. The Universiade Games, that is here also in Switzerland, in Luzern. So not far from here, about an hour and a half northeast. And I'm sure they will have high hopes for that competition, being the host nation. But meanwhile, they first need to concentrate on this game against Klima from Czech Republic, who has just played a lovely shot. Look at that. I think he's got that roll just about perfect. That's Klima's first stone in this game. He is the skip and fourth thrower. As I said, we'll go through the teams in just a second. So Marco thinks there is enough space for fourth thrower Jan Hess to get round and punch that yellow through. We've seen that the ice is very curly, particularly at the end. We've seen a lot of stones that maybe look like they're even a little bit wide at first, but they really grab a curl right at the end. So I'm sure they'll be aware of that. So gentle weight here. They do need it to curl onto this yellow. And looks like they're sweeping to get a bit more curl. But yeah, no trouble there. Catches just enough of that yellow to push it through. And oh, I think that red's just going to spin itself back in again. So a nice result from Jan Hess. Pretty simple stuff there in the end for this first end of our featured game in ADELBODEN. Lukas Klima will, I'm sure, have no trouble removing that red. He will prefer if his yellow hangs around and force Jan Hess to play a shot. If the yellow doesn't hang around, we will probably see Jan Hess throw his last stone straight through. But first things first, let's get rid of this red first of all. Gosh, they're having to sweep that all the way, but I think he's going to catch just about enough. He just needed an edge. But yeah, you can see how big the curl is, even on that higher weight. And indeed, that yellow rolled out. And so, as we thought, I'm sure we will see Jan Hess just throwing this stone through. So a bit of a half shot there from Klima. He didn't really want to just give Jan Hess a free throw here. And what they're doing is just having a practice throw there, just to check how that line goes. So when you start with the brush where Marco had it, how does that line go for that sort of throw? So, no points for anyone in that first end, and that gives us a chance to say hello to the teams. On the left of your screen, and from Czech Republic, is Team Klima, and fourth thrower and skip is Lukáš Klima. Third thrower is Marek Černovský. Second thrower, Jiří Kantra, and lead thrower Samuel Mokriš. I apologise again to any Czech speakers. Do correct me if your ears are hurting from my Czech pronunciation. And then on the right of our screen, fourth thrower is Jan Hess. Third thrower and skip is today Marco Hösli. Second thrower is Simon Glur. And lead thrower is Reto Schönenberger. And you can see the other hybrid team, the Hösli team, they're next door on sheet C. And I can tell you who else is out there this evening. On sheet A, we have Team Dean Hürlimann. We saw Team Corey Hürlimann earlier on today. And Team Dean Hürlimann on sheet A, they are playing Team Walstad. So I hope that Team Walstad are feeling a bit more in good spirits after a tough start at lunchtime today. Here on sheet B, our featured game is Team Klima from Czech Republic against Team Hess from Switzerland. Next door on sheet C, we have Team Iseli, the young Italian team, and they are playing the other hybrid team, Team Hösli. And over on sheet D, we have Team Sergio Vez from Spain, playing the other young Italian team, Team Colli. Lots of interesting games out there. We've got plenty of well-known names out there, as well as some new names for us to watch as well. We have some familiar countries represented, and with some of their younger up-and-coming teams, which is always good to see. No score then in the first end in our featured game. That was a blank, and that means that Team Hess, they retain last stone. And meanwhile, Team Klima, they don't have last stone, so they will be trying to pull the play towards the centre line here. And we have a nice shot there of Samuel Mokriš, his delivery. I can tell you what the results were in the 6 o'clock session when we were recharging our chat batteries. We had the Netherlands talent team, so not the team from Jaap van Dorp that we're used to seeing. There is a second team now from Netherlands, a younger team. I think they may still be juniors, and their talent team, they won against Team Iseli, a Swiss team. That was a score of 4 points to 2. So that's a really good win for them. Team Iseli been around for a couple of years now. On the featured game, which you could watch just on the split screen, but without commentary, that was Team Jungen against Team Heinimann and all Swiss affair, and that was a fairly comfortable win for Team Jungen, 9 points to 3. On sheet C, we had Team Bangerter against Team Corey Hürlimann. And that was another comfortable win on that sheet. That was 9 points to 1 for Team Bangerter. And then we had an all foreign teams affair on sheet D. That was Team Mercier. That's a relatively new team from France against Team Nyman, the team from Sweden that we watched this morning. And that was a second win today for Team Nyman, 6 points to 3 against Team Mercier. can catch up on all of the games we're watching this weekend. They are all in the video tab on this YouTube channel. So don't worry if you had to have a job today, unfortunately, and you aren't able to set up secret office curling in the background. You can catch up on the video. This is a bright start from Team Klima in this end. Look, they've really cancelled out that red. But they have left space that Marco Hösli can call the same shot again. If you're just joining us, welcome, welcome. It's the evening session at the second ADELBODEN International 2021 edition. First stone in the second end for Simon Gloor. I mentioned earlier that a couple of Team Hess had exams during the Baden Masters, so a couple of games they had to play with 3 players, but good to see all 4 of them back this weekend, even though, as I said, they've done a switch. They've given Yves Stocker to the Hösli team, and they've borrowed Marco Hösli for their team. Now, did that red get to the right place? I think it maybe just over curled. To me, we don't have an overhead here, but to me, I think that may still be yellow shot that could be closest there. But either way, this is the correct shot from Klima. They're typically very tidy players, the Czech teams.
Fine.
They do the simple things very well, the Czech teams. Nice, clean tacticians. They've been getting very strong in recent years, the Czech team. They've been the Schnider brothers as well. They've played at World Championships now. And as I said, I'm sure Team Klima, they just weren't quite getting the points in Baden a couple of weeks ago, but I'm sure they'll be building on that this weekend. I'm sure they'll have high hopes of making the quarterfinals in this event. And looking pretty nice in this end. They don't have last stone, Team Klima, but really forcing the play. A couple of half shots really from Team Hess and allowing Team Klima to dictate a little bit how this end is going. So corner guard has gone. They had their chance to use it, but they didn't quite make use of it, I don't think. And now may as well play towards the centre before Klima gets there, but that's going to come up a wee bit short. Better that than long. You can still use that red. You could punch that in later, but not so helpful. I think Marco Hösli could be looking at a difficult shot for his last stone. Things getting a little bit crowded in there. If you joined us a bit earlier, we were watching Team Corey Hürlimann playing with her sister Brea Hürlimann, along with Melina Betzola and Anna Gut, and they are our special guest ladies team. We're getting a bit used to this now, having special guest ladies team here at the men's competitions, and as before, we're very grateful to Corey's team for filling in the roster when a couple of men's teams were not able to play after all. And them having a bit of a tough day. They had 2 losses today. And we're supporting Corey's team up here. It takes good courage for them to play with all these big men's teams. And Marco Hösli is going to need some good courage for this shot right here. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 yellows lying, or maybe 3, but there's a dangerous yellow out front. And a couple of guards there as well. I think you need to clear yourself a bit of a space here, boys. I don't think there's any chance that Jan Hess will be allowed to throw away his last stone at this end. Hans in the chat. Good evening, Hans. He's a bit of a super fan here in the virtual club as well, and he asks if it's LED lighting. I will have to check that for you, Hans. I am not the lighting expert. You maybe mean that we can see those little white dots either side of the centre line on the ice. I think that could just be our angle. I'm sure it's not distracting the players too much. Good shot there from Marco Hösli. He really had to do something quite good with that shot, otherwise they were going to get into a terrible mess. So he's cleared off the immediate danger from the forefoot. Klima just being a bit defensive here. There are a couple of things he could do. He could call a more aggressive shot and play on the counterclockwise handle and just kind of replace a stone in the forefoot. He could probably tuck one in behind those 2 red guards out front, or he could maybe punch up that yellow that's in the front ring. But he doesn't need to be aggressive. And this is a good call. Let's just remove that red. If there's no reds around, then Team Hess is not building an end. So I think they're just going to catch that other yellow on the way through, but yeah, that's a nice shot. Team Klima, they won't expect those yellows to come into play. They won't be expecting those yellows to score points, but they are surely putting a lot of pressure on Team Hess, playing red stones. That's a lot of yellow hanging around, so good job that Team Hess does have last shot in the second end. And it looks like now what they're going for is a nice controlled hit and roll. They want to punch that yellow through and then roll towards the centre line. But he's popped that wide, Marco. That's certainly not rolling towards the centre. And that doesn't help him too much, to be honest. This is a well-worked end from Team Klima here. I think as soon as Marco let that stone go, it seemed like it just went backwards and backwards out of his hand, never really curled. And now that there are no reds to remove for Team Klima, he is absolutely going to just put one right in the front rings and try to really block every path for Jan Hess's 4th stones. So, Team Hess in a bit of trouble here in the second end. They do have last stone. There we are, 4 stones to come, 2 each. Definitely advantage Team Klima. They've played a very, very strong end here. Tactically very sound and nicely executed. You can keep up with all the scores from this sheet and all the other sheets. You can look at worldcurlingtour.org. And I think if it's an ongoing game, I think the scores pop up at the top of the homepage, but you can also click on the ADELBODEN International link, and that will take you to the team list, the scores, information about the competition, and that has all of the scores from previous games, as well as the draw for the rest of the competition. So they just want this in the front ring. They don't really want it too far in, otherwise that would give Jan Hess a bit of a target. So this weight looks pretty nice. So they have brought it fully to 4 foot. I think I might have liked that stone a little bit further towards the front rings, actually. Because, yeah, as you can see, as Jan Hess is indicating, if he just follows that path, then he can cancel out 3 out of those 4 yellows with 1 stone. So I wonder if Klima might have been better just letting that stone stop a little bit shorter, actually. But let's see. There are still 4 bright yellows there in those rings. Definitely not easy for Jan Hess with his stones in this end. Maybe not surprising that Jan Hess and Marco Hösli having a bit more discussion than typical, let's say. As we said, they've swapped players for the weekend, Team Hess and Team Hösli. Jan Hess and Marco Hösli not so used to playing together. They're practicing for the Universiade, and that could be why there's a little bit more discussion than we would perhaps normally have. But do get on with it, boys. I think the longer you take to discuss things, I think there's definitely a sweet spot for discussion, after which I start to think you just can think yourself in circles a little bit. I think make a decision and let's get on and play it. I think the discussion was probably about where they want this shooter to go, the red that Jan Hess is about to throw. Not a discussion about playing onto that yellow just thrown by Łukasz Klima. As I said, I think he made a little bit of a mistake, actually, letting that yellow go all the way to the 4 foot, because now he's given a target to Jan Hess. First stone then of the second end for 4th thrower Jan Hess. Nice controlled weight. And I think he's popped that one a little bit wide as well. They're not quite finding the brush, Team Hess, at the moment. But that's not a bad result. Again, he's moved that yellow off the 4 foot. That was important. Although he has given Łukasz Klima a chance to do it better this time. So better that than catching the guard. That would have been no good. If we're going to make a mistake, let's make a mistake on the professional side. So the tolerance for that shot was probably there. Just make sure we've cleared out the 4 foot. You can see both of our neighbour games, they've finished their second end and they're now throwing their third end. Getting a little bit tardy in this game. And for me, that really helps the players to spend too much time discussing. I think you can lose the rhythm a little bit of your game there. But yeah, I think either a little bit more curl for Łukasz Klima, really bury it in behind those reds, or a little bit less weight and just leave it in more like front ring. And then you will force Jan Hess to come all the way around the clockwise handle on a new path against 4 yellows, which is never easy. So I think the front ring is the easier shot. Let's see, last stone in the second end for Łukasz Klima. This is our featured game in ADELBODEN. And looks like the sweeper's pointing up to indicate there's plenty of weight there. Doesn't need sweeping for weight. And looks like maybe that extra weight was holding it out a little bit, but yeah, I like this, I think, even better than getting to T-line, because there we are, just as we said. That forces Jan Hess, he can't play the same shot again, that forces him to go all the way around the clockwise handle. You can see he's got plenty of space, but facing 4 yellows, never easy. He needs to just really focus on the weight, put those yellows out of his head, give it to his sweepers, and bring it to the 8 foot. And as we often say, this is Jan Hess's job. This is what he's here for, is to draw the forefoot and get the team out of trouble to win this end. So this is the kind of shot he expects to play, but doesn't make it easy.
Jo, my zjistili jsme to vydali, že taky nechtěl mést, já jsem taky zvedal. Pero ono to nebylo o tolik větší. Jsem myslel jenom Radek, ale současně ten první vlastně
So
metl.
deep breath, Jan. The sweeper's on it fairly quickly. This is a bit of a fresher path out here, so it makes sense. Makes more sense to sweep first and then lift. Make sure it doesn't get stuck in the frost. You don't lose control of it too early. They said the length is perfect. And it is. Really nice shot there from Jan Hess. That's a real game saver. I think that was a bit of an all or nothing. I think all 4 yellows were in a fairly similar position, so I think he was going to either cancel all 4 of them or lose a big 4. So really well done there. That would have made quite a difference to this game had they lost a big end here at the beginning. That really changes the dynamic of the game. So that's hopefully steadied the ship for Team Hess. And a really well worked end there from Team Klima. They really forced the issue there. And if they keep doing that, if they're just patient, keep playing that nice aggressive game, keep putting those yellow stones in play, then I think it will come good for them. So meanwhile, as we said, this game's getting a little bit tardy with a lot of discussion, but let's see what's going on the other sheets. And I can tell you that on sheet A, on the left of our screen, that's a bright start for Team Walstad. They scored a 2 in the first end. Second end was blanked. So that's 2-0 to Team Walstad against Hürlimann on sheet A. It's 1-0 for Team Hess against Team Klima here on our featured game on sheet B. On sheet C, Team Hösli, who are borrowing Yves Stocker. Team Hösli are 2-0 ahead after 2 ends against young Team Iseli from Italy. And over on sheet D, big scoring game already. That's a score of 3 points to 2 to Team Sergio Vez from Spain against the other young Italian team, Team Colli, after 2 ends. We'll keep eyes on the other games this evening. If you want to say hi in the chat or tell us what's going on with you, we certainly welcome it. We've got plenty more curling for you this weekend. We have the same drill tomorrow. We have a draw at 8 o'clock in the morning, 11, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the evening, European time. So lots more curling to come. We have 4 draws tomorrow to finish off the round robin. And then we'll have the quarterfinals. That's the 9 o'clock draw tomorrow evening. So do join us for that. The quarterfinals is typically 4 really nice close games. But we've a long way to go until we get there. All of the games here in ADELBODEN, 8 ends. And if the scores are tied after 8 ends, then we shall have an extra end. Third end here in our featured game. Second stone for lead thrower Reto Schönenberger. You may have noticed that Reto is a left-handed thrower. He comes out of the opposite hack, so to say, since most of us are right-handed. I know that's his normality, so it's not the wrong hack for him. That's pretty nice. Klima can remove that red, but you can see that yellow's just lurking behind, ready to catch if the angle goes wrong. And typically, Reto being left-handed won't affect things too much. But as you can imagine, as a left-hander, you are just coming out at a slightly different angle. And just occasionally, you need to just take that into account. So a left-hander starting with their body on the other side of the line compared to a right-hander. And that's a pretty perfect shot, I think, from lead thrower Samuel Mokrish for the Czech team. You can see he's removed that red and he's rolled all the way to the edge with his own yellow stone. So 12 out of 10 for Samuel with that shot. They're his 2 shots. I think he's played exactly what was asked of him and set up the end really nicely. That yellow on the right of our screen, that could become a danger later. Marco will be aware of that. You can see the score there, 1-0 to Hess, with Team Klima now have last stone for the first time in this game. And made a very positive start with that. And I'm not quite sure what the ideal result was for that stone, but I'm not sure that's really helped matters, to be honest. I think yellow might be now lying 2. And about to put a third one in behind the centre. So I'm not sure if that stone didn't have enough weight or it didn't quite catch the right line. But again, unfortunately, Team Hess getting themselves in a little bit of a muddle here. And the Czech team just tidily going about their game. Typically the Czech teams have really nice draw weight, quite comfortable with the aggressive tactics. And this shot just overrunning a bit. So Team Hess may have got away with that slightly muffed stone with their last effort. Yeah, there's far too many yellows around, considering yellow also has last stone. We need to start shifting some stones out of the rings. And this should be a very makeable double for second thrower Simon Glure. This looks just lovely. Very nice. Oh, look at that. He's even got a nice little spin in behind cover. So whatever went wrong with his first shot, Simon Glure definitely making up for it with his second. Nice stones there. Not out of danger yet though. Yellow has last stone in this third end. And you can see we said that yellow on the right of our screen could become a danger, and it's certainly hanging around there. That will be on Marco Hösli's to-do list. You can see the sweepers so close to that stone, keeping eyes on it, ready to sweep the whole way. I think they wanted that to roll a little bit further to our right. But I think there's good separation of those 2 yellows. I think if your life depended on it, you could go for a double takeout, but not an easy one by any stretch. You would just have to catch just the edge of that yellow, and what Jan is suggesting, it looks like not the double takeout, but the slightly simpler hit and roll. Team Hess then wanting to punch out that yellow. I think someone's car alarm going off in the background. Apologies if you can hear that. I'm sure it's nothing serious. We're in a lovely ADELBODEN where everyone's very nice. I'm sure nothing nasty has happened to the car. Now, what's going on here though? This is not it, Marco. Dear, oh dear. He was trying to be a bit cute with that, I think. Trying to get too much of a roll on there, and he's missed it completely. So a broom slap there for Marco. That's very unlike him. He's normally very precise. And as we saw in the last end, in the second end, Team Klima just on top of this. They're just playing nice, steady shots, nothing fancy. They're just not getting themselves into a mess, not getting themselves into facing loads of opposition stones, and I reckon they're just going to put another yellow, draw weight. This is exactly the kind of game that Czech teams typically excel at. And Team Hess are going to have to tighten up a little bit out there, or I think at some point Team Klima's patience might pay off with a big score. I think this one's coming up a little bit shorter, but this one found not a bad spot there. You can see it's in front of the yellow they played before, and that yellow just thrown, that could be dangerous later. So yellow has last shot. Red is going to have to get something in there. There are quite a few yellows building up now, and I think the chance to kind of bail this end and remove those yellows, I think that time may have come and gone. I think red might need to now be out aggressive. They may need to be more aggressive than Team Klima to stop Team Klima getting a big score here. And what do we mean by big score? We mean a score of more than one with last stone. If you have one last stone, the default kind of score is 1 point with your one last stone. And that's why teams will do everything they can to try to score more than one when they have last stone. And that's exactly why that yellow was dangerous. Because what they can do now is use that yellow to punch it back onto the red just thrown by Marco. They don't want to throw this too hard, because if they get this right, then they could remove that red thrown by Marco and sit a yellow still out front and have a yellow in behind cover. So they don't want to spray all the stones everywhere here. They want a controlled weight. Third thrower Marek Černovský. There we are. Really nicely done there. So he does get that yellow behind cover. He does remove that red. Life not getting any easier for Team Hess, who does not have last stone, remember, in this third end. So 2 yellows definitely lying. I'm not sure if that yellow on the right of our screen, if that's third shot, or the yellow, sorry, if the yellow on the right of our screen, I don't know if that's third shot, or if the red at the back is third shot, but certainly 2 yellows very happily snuggled in behind the centre guards there. Not going to help Jan Hess to remove that back yellow. He's going to have to outscore, really, Team Klima. So this better be good, Jan. They just need to tighten up their shots a little bit, Team Hösli. Sorry, Team Hess. Now I'm getting confused seeing Marco holding the broom there. So we just saw Jan Hess in the previous end. He had to draw against 4 yellows, and he made it just beautifully. Same again, please, Jan. We're going to have to outscore these yellows to limit the damage here. Just where Marco's tapping his brush, that's where they want it to end up. This looks pretty nice. Great effort from Jan Hess there. Super weight. They might have wanted it to curl in just a fraction, but I'm being highly critical, because you can see if Team Klima punches that red that Jan Hess just threw, there's a good chance that red will squirt straight back onto the yellow and jam there. So So a really good saving shot there from Jan Hess. That should give Klima a bit of trouble. I'm not sure it's very easy to remove that red. And that really cancels out that front yellow as well. But I'm sure Team Hess would rather be playing a bit cleaner than they are just now. They're having to save themselves a little bit too often for my liking in this first half of the game. Team Klima putting a lot of pressure on, just playing nice tidy stones. This is also possible. Team Klima can say to themselves, let's just throw a big weight at it. We may have to sacrifice that back yellow, but at least we would clear ourselves the space and give ourselves a chance at making 2. Certainly that red is very dangerous if Jan Hess just played basically the same shot. You could just split that red and leave the reds lying 2 points. And Klima would rather eliminate that danger. Klima has last stone in this third end, so first of his 2 stones in the third end. And there's superfan Megan in the chat. Hello, Megan. She's also VIP lounge here in the virtual club room. Megan's very committed fan. So let's see if this jams, or can he get the pair of them out? Wow, I wasn't even sure that was possible. So he just rolls that red underneath the yellow, doesn't touch the back yellow at all. Really nicely done. They had to be ever so careful with that. There was a huge chance of that jamming on the back yellow, so really nicely done. But, as I've said before today, that does give Jan Hess the chance to do this better this time. He will be looking for exactly the same weight, but just a little more curl, and try to really bury that red in behind those guards, rather than leaving Łukasz Klima a bit of an edge to chip it out. So pretty much same again, Jan. I'm not sure if they will have brought in the ice a little bit, or they're sweeping for line by the sound of it, but this looks quite nice on its own. Oh, don't catch the yellow. Oh, there we are. Oh, look at that. Well, he's certainly got the line this time. Just a little bit heavier, but I think that's probably going to be good enough to avoid giving up 2. Another nice shot from Jan Hess there. Yeah, Klima's got a couple of nice yellows there, but how does he get rid of that red? It was maybe on purpose actually that Jan threw that stone a little bit heavier, made sure it got to that back yellow, because he's just seen Łukasz Klima play a lovely shot just catching the edge of the red to ping it through the gap without touching anything. He maybe wanted to make that shot a little bit harder for Łukasz Klima. If he wants to do anything about that red, he will have to come on the counterclockwise handle this time. And certainly much less space to move that red. I'm not sure if those stones are touching, but I think a very difficult shot to remove the red without springing out that yellow. But that red is lying shot. The red that Jan Hess just threw, that's the only shot touching the forefoot. To even score 1 point, then Łukasz Klima will have to do something about this red. You can certainly see, let's say, about 1/3 of it. I think just under half. He can certainly get to the red. The question is if he loses his own yellow and his shooter, and potentially will just pick up 1 point. So a big shot here, even just to pick up 1 point. We've seen a couple of shots just go a little bit wide here. Goodness me, and he's just gone and done it again. There was even less space, but he got it anyway, so super shot there from Łukasz Klima, yeah. An impressed face there from lead thrower Samuel Mokrish. Yeah, nice job there, Skip. That was a really super shot. I didn't even know if there was space to touch that red and get it past the yellow, but there certainly was. And that's a big score of 2 for Klima. Well worked in that end from the Czech team. I think 8 really nice shots played there, and their reward is they get a nice big score of 2. So after 3 ends here in our featured game in ADELBODEN, we have a score of 2 points to 1 for Team Klima from Czech Republic against Team Hess from Switzerland. So much as I'm a fan of Team Hess and their super sub skip, Marco Hösli, I'm happy to see Team Klima battling away. I felt a bit bad for them in Baden. As I said, they didn't play badly at all. They just weren't quite picking up wins there. So I'm happy to see them coming back strong in this competition. And while lead thrower Samuel Mokrish is getting us underway in our feature game, let's see what's going on around the rink. Team Walstad on sheet A on the left of our screen, they have increased their lead over Team Dean Hürlimann. Don't get confused with your Hürlimanns this weekend. Team Walstad have increased their lead after the third end, and they lead by 3 points to 0. Team Klima, in our featured game here, they lead Team Hess by 2 points to 1. Our neighbour game on sheet C, the other hybrid team, Team Hösli, featuring Yves Stocker for the weekend. They lead Team Rizzoli from Italy. They lead 4-0 after 3 ends. And over on sheet D, we have the score is all tied, 3 each after 3 ends. And that's Team Sergio Vez from Spain against the other young team from Italy, Team Colli. For some of these teams, this is their third game today. Several of these teams, they had the 8 o'clock draw this morning, early start. They had another draw at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and now they're playing at 9 o'clock this evening. Long day for them, but their reward is they don't have to get up early tomorrow as well. Depending on the structure of the competition, this draw is placed in advance. This is a round robin. So the round robin draw is already scheduled, but for some competitions, say a triple knockout, it's not clear. You know your first game, you know what time that is, but then it depends whether you win or lose, tells you the timing of your next game, and this can be quite a motivator, that if you win the game, you avoid the 8 o'clock draw tomorrow morning. And don't underestimate how much of a motivator that can be, to get some good shots so that you don't have to get up at some early hour. So lead thrower for Team Hess, Reto Schönenberger.
Yep. Yep.
This looks really nice from Reto. And yeah, he gets quite a nice roll across. I think that rolled a little bit further than they wanted. Klima can see that red stone.
Asi 9 mi to vycházím.
Jenom teda bacha na ten guard, guard zóna.
Team Hess has the last shot in this fourth end after that score of 2 to Klima in the third. I think both of these teams that we're watching just now, I think, yeah, both of them will have high hopes of qualifying for quarterfinals tomorrow evening. Has he squeaked through the gap? He has not. And guess what? That red is going to go out of play, and that was still protected by the free guard zone, so everything has to go back to how it was. So let's hope somebody was paying attention.
Where was that one? It wasn't on the center line, it was
a bit, yeah.
There you can see it's Marco's choice because they're the non-offending team. It's Marco's decision where he feels the guards were placed before. He can essentially place them wherever he wants. He can move them around until he's happy. And curling's a very respectful game. You would not find someone taking advantage of that to improve their situation. He's just asking the team at the other end, does this still look the same to you? So that might be the mistake that Team Hess needs to start building some momentum in this end, in this game. They haven't quite found their rhythm yet, I don't think, Team Hess. They're keeping themselves out of trouble, but they could do with putting their foot down a little bit on the gas and start putting a bit of pressure on Team Klima. I feel like the pressure's been a little bit towards Team Hess so far in this first half of the game. They're not getting a lot of mistakes from Team Klima, and maybe they can make the most of that one. So, second thrower, Simon Gleur. Wants to draw another red into the front of the house. Yeah, this looks like it's got plenty of beans on it. That's there all by itself, so may as well take it back then, so as not to leave a little comfy nest of reds for the yellows to get to. A little bit too far then with Simon's shot, but still 2 reds in play in the house there. Sounds like Klima's going for a similar shot as they had last time. And you never know, maybe that back red could be a catcher. Might come in handy later on. So this time, 5 stones have already been played. Free guard zone is over. If second thrower Yiri Kandra moves all the guards instead, it will stay like that. But I think he's got through the gap this time. There, but just as we said, that red did come in handy to catch the short stone. Moved the red off the forefoot, but there is still a red hanging around, and that's exactly what Team Hess likes to see. Team Hess with the last stone in this fourth end. And if they are lying 2 red after every shot, if they manage to keep the reds with a good separation, don't give the Czech team an easy double takeout. This is exactly how you give yourself a chance at scoring 2 with this last stone. So second shot here from Simon Gleur. Now he needs to get through this gap. He's certainly through the gap. Oh no, he isn't. That one just drifted a bit wide as well. So that's a pity. That's 1 mistake each with that gap between those 2 guards. First mistake from Team Klima, caught the guards. And now, unfortunately for Team Hess, Simon Gleur just touched the edge of that with his shot. It was maybe a little bit heavier than they wanted, travelling a little bit too fast, that stone, and didn't give it a chance to curl to make it through the gap. You can see how important the weight control is. So is that advantage Klima? Now in this end, first throw from third thrower Marek Czernovsky. Chance to put a lot of pressure again on Team Hess. If they just put a second stone in the front rings here, which looks like he has. Pretty nice there, yeah. Nice shot from Marek. He also has a beanie hat that he wears while he's curling. I don't know if his beanie hat has its own Twitter account, like Stefan Walstad. I think the call here to drive that yellow guard back into those 2 yellows. Let's try and clear a space. Would be nice to be able to make 2 points in this end, but we don't want to give up points. So Marco trying to remove the guard as well as move things around in the house. So he's got one of the yellows out. He has left, though, a bit of a guard there that Klima can still use, which I think he's going to. But difficult shot that was from Marco, a raised double takeout and clear out your own shooter, not so easy. So he'd certainly improved the situation, but Klima is going to immediately try to make their lives harder again by putting up another centre guard. Second throw from Marek Černovský in this end.
Tady, Jiří u kamene, tady. Jenom dílka, Jiří u kamene.
Just where Lukáš Klima's brushes, that's where they want this throw to stop. And I think he's got it perfectly. Two really nice throws from Marek Černovský. Really setting his team up well. And I think, yeah, no choice for Team Hess here. They have to try something similar. They need to clear themselves a bit of space here in this end. So another big throw from Marco Hösli. Super sub skip for the weekend. He's certainly got that red guard. I think he might end up clearing the guards, but yeah, he's not going to get to the stone in the house this time. So again, he's certainly improved the situation, although hasn't quite opened everything out. And I expect Klima is just going to persist with this tactic. That yellow is very happy there in the 4 foot, and Klima simply wants to keep putting up that guard, keep making the angles difficult. Or it looks like he may just remove this back red. That's another good idea. No reds in the house equals no points for Hess. And then even if Jan Hess makes the run back takeout next shot, there would only be one red stone in the house. So this also makes a lot of sense. Even though that red is behind tee, no reds, no points. This should be straightforward for Lukáš Klima. The red wide open. But we've seen a few stones catch a big curl, but I don't think there's any trouble with this one though. They're just keeping it clean. That's fine. And you can see they are going to try that again, driving that guard back into the 4 foot. But even if he makes it, there will only be one red in the house. So that's wise play from the Czech team.
No to jo. Okay. Já bych možná dal bite, no. Nemusí být bite, stačí i těsný guard, ale asi bych to klidně mířil takhle.
But again, they're not quite finding that run back today.
Tobě jsem dával tohle, na tvůj na mě.
That little yellow's been making itself quite a home there in the 4 foot. And Team Hess trying and trying again to drive the guards back onto it, but just not quite finding it. And I guess that Lukáš Klima, he will probably simply want to replace that guard and force Jan Hess into quite a tricky shot for his last stone.
Jinak než normálně. Kdyby náhodou vysel, tak ho prostě zametem na plná 4.
Still not quite capitalising on the opposition mistakes, Team Hess. They got a mistake from Team Klima in this end, but they couldn't quite put the pressure on from there. And let's see where this one ends up. This looks a little bit chunky for a guard. Or maybe this was the original call. I think it must have been. I think it's unlikely that Lukáš Klima threw that so much harder than he intended for a guard. Relatively straightforward shot for Jan Hess, but again, look at this. Jan Hess is facing 3 yellow stones. And if I was Team Klima, I would be very satisfied with my team's performance this first half of the game. They're putting constant pressure on Team Hess. Yes, no sweeping. Typically a happy sign. I think he's got this just perfectly. Really nice shot there from Jan, but again, having to save the situation against 3. After 4 ends then, at the halfway point in our featured game here at the ADELBODEN International, the score is 2 each between Team Klima from Czech Republic and Team Hess from Switzerland. But for me, advantage Team Klima, I think. They seem a little bit more in control of this game. They're really the ones putting pressure on. They're putting a lot of pressure on Marco Hösli, who's super sub skip for the weekend, and Jan Hess's 4th stones. They're really having to pull themselves out of trouble a little bit too often at the moment if they want to win this game. So yeah, let's refocus. Let's place every stone in the, find a good position. And if I'm Team Klima, I would keep doing this. I think Team Klima playing a very nice tidy game. They've not really faced any circus shots, or they've not had to pull out a Hail Mary shot at all this game. I think Team Klima playing really nice tidy curling. And I imagine their halftime talk was more of the same, please. So at the halfway, let's see what's going on around the rink. On the left of our screen on sheet A, and you can see their score just in the top left corner of our screen. The score is 3-1 to Team Walstad against Team Dean Hürlimann. That steadied the ship a bit. Team Hürlimann getting a 1 in that 4th end. They're also at the halfway point. It's 2 each here in our featured game between Team Klima and Team Hess. Our other neighbour game on sheet C, that's 4-0 still for Team Hösli, featuring Stocker against Team Rizzoli, the young Italian team. And on sheet D, that's the quite high scoring game. That's a score of 4 points to 3 between Team Sergio Vez from Spain against the other young team from Italy, Team Colli. Good to see Sergio Vez and the Spanish team back in competitions again. I think they also weren't able to travel last year, so we missed seeing them. And then that's our photographer in the background, that's Celine. You can see her taking photos of the event. You can look at those on Facebook. We're very grateful to Celine for attending the event. I know she has to dash off for another job tomorrow morning, and then she'll come back tomorrow evening to take some more photos. But yeah, do look up the pictures on Facebook. Get some good action shots of the teams. At the halfway point then in our featured game here, and as I said, I think Team Hess need to really tighten up a little bit. They're not managing to put pressure on Team Klima, and I think if that doesn't change, I think at some point that's going to cost them. Team Klima playing nice, tidy shots, not getting into a mess. Oh, careful, there's a stray stone squirting in from the rink next door. This does happen. I think typically it doesn't cause any trouble. Most people that are involved in the game next door, they will know that there's a chance of, if there's a big hit coming, they will know there's a chance of the stones squirting out, and they will be ready to catch them before they knock anyone else over. So this is not round the guard, that's going to catch that edge. It doesn't make it to the red stone in the rings. And again, Team Klima has made a little mistake with the first few stones and given Team Hess an opportunity to put pressure. So let's use that opportunity this time. Team Hess, we didn't quite manage to capitalise on that mistake in the fourth end, and they need to start using these chances more effectively if they want to win this game. They did win their first game today. Team Hess, they were playing a young Team Colli, the Italians. They won that game 7-4. They need to keep that kind of consistency here. So this is better. Those are some nice angles set up. For the first time this weekend, we can bust open our Christmas tree analogy. We would say those three reds, they're quite nicely Christmas treed, and what we mean is if you imagine drawing a Christmas tree with its pointy little branches right and left, and imagine little round baubles at the end of the pointy branches, and that is those three red curling stones. And the reason that's a really nice, safe combination is that there isn't a double takeout, and that's why you will hear the teams talking about Christmas treeing stones, because it ends up being very nice and safe. And Łukasz Klima recognising that. Klima has last shot. And within two stones we can bust out another one of our favourite tactics, which is removing that centre guard when you have last stone is typically a good idea. So if you're playing tactics bingo, you'll be doing quite well on this end. So this is better stuff from Team Hess. Let's see if we can keep this up. If he just puts that guard back exactly where it was, get that Christmas tree formation again. He's going to keep Łukasz Klima busy at the front. That's where he wants to land, exactly where Marco's brush is. He's got a bit to curl, but we've seen the stones really catch a big curl towards the end. And Jan Hess really sweeping it to try to get it to curl. So it's a slightly easier angle. There's a chance he may be able to drive that back towards the reds in the house. I'm not sure if that's the idea or whether he's just going for the straight peel, keep things simple. See Jan Hess sucking in the oxygen after that big sweep. I think this is going back towards the ones in the house anyway. And that's a nice result for Jiri Kandra. He moves both of those reds away from danger. But having said that, looks like there is an opportunity here for Team Hess to put a bit of pressure on Klima. So those red stones away from the 4 foot, but this yellow almost wide open.
spíš bych to viděl nějaký výsun, ale záleží, kde skončí.
And Klima not yet able to build stones. He's not yet able to start getting yellows hanging around. So just controlled weight from Marco Hösli. He wants this red to hang around as well. Oh, I think we need to sweep that. Yep. Oh gosh, they were just a bit too late with that sweeping. Oh boys, that is a mistake, because we know the stones grab a big curl towards the end, and that's the kind of silly mistakes that Team Hess is making, unfortunately, this evening. They know those stones are going to curl towards the end, and they maybe should have been sweeping that earlier and then lifting the brushes rather than waiting and then trying to sweep it round. And that's let Team Klima off the hook a bit. And now they do have a chance. Now they could build a little yellow Christmas tree, little yellow baubles on the branches, and make the angles difficult for Team Hess.
Buďte u něj, Radek! Radek, směr! Směr, jo! Směr, málo místa! Jo, málo místa! Málo místa! Málo!
Also grabbing that big curl though. Not going to make it around the guard, but I think he's going to get a happy little bounce. And for a missed shot, that's not a terrible result. He's still got a guard on that shot yellow, but definitely there is space now for Marco Hösli to get in behind. And if he can just get right to the face of that yellow that's been, again, happily making its home in the forefoot for most of the end. If Marco can just get to the face of that, he can make Klima's life a bit more difficult. So they're not taking a chance on the line this time. Plenty of room around the guard. They don't want to lose it again. Pulling up a little bit short, but that's a dangerous stone, that red. Although Lukáš thinks there is a double takeout available. He wants to hit the right, sorry, he wants to hit the red on the left of our screen first, and then that will ping across and squirt out the right. Oh no, is he doing it that way? I think I preferred the other handle as well. That looked like that was his first idea, but looks like he's playing it on the clockwise handle after all. I think this is the more difficult way of doing it, but that can be a matter of personal taste, which handle you prefer to throw. So big weight here, looking for the double takeout. Oh no, he is indeed playing the swinging hand. He must put quite a big spin on it, Marek, and he's got that double perfectly. That's really nice. So a couple of things you could do here if you're Team Hess. You could play exactly the same shot that Marco just threw, try to get to the face of that yellow, or you can do it that way that Jan is just pointing to. You could punch that yellow through and then get a little roll towards the centre yourself. The risk is that yellow will still be hanging around. If you want to bounce off the inside of that yellow stone, there is a chance it will bounce back onto that red. So this might be the more sensible idea, is just to play T-weight, and then if it is a little bit wide, you can always just have a little bounce off that yellow that's more to the left. Klima does have last stone, and leaving those yellows and not trying to hit them out, that can feel quite dangerous. But I think, again, Team Hess may be in the situation where it is too late to bail out this end. I'm not sure they're going to be able to remove all the yellows, and I think they may just have to outscore the yellows to keep this under control. So decisions made. I think indeed they're going for a pretty similar shot that they just tried.
Ale ten je jako jediný pomalejší, tak si myslím, že může docela rychle.
Länge ist immer noch früh hergegangen. Ja. 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 Nur Länge. Oh, nur Länge. Oh, Achtung. Ja. Oh, oh, oh. Oh. Easy. Achtung.
En velký.
Oh, oh, oh. Nein, 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 nein. Ganz leer.
So just like that. Really nice stone. Big smile from Marco. That's exactly what we said. If that stone was running a little bit wide, he really couldn't risk going near that guard, and that was the better idea. If that stone was running a little bit wide, to just use that yellow that was there and bounce in towards the middle. That's exactly what he's done.
I'll see outside in.
Appeal?
Yep.
Well, it looks like Klima thinks there could be another double takeout here. He will have to sacrifice that yellow just next to Marek's brush, but he just needs to catch the edge of that yellow, and then he will ping sideways and punch out that red that Jan Hess just played, and then only I think Jan Hess will have a real difficult shot with his last stone. If he makes a nice shot here, Łukasz Klima, this could be the big chance that the Czech team have really patiently been working towards this game. They've played a fairly similar shot already down this line. That's not it though. I wonder why they played that handle and not the same swinging hand, the counterclockwise handle that they played with Marek's shot. Maybe Łukasz prefers the clockwise handle.
Yeah, taky.
But that could be a big mistake. They've been playing really nice curling so far, but that was a big opportunity to pick up a big two or maybe even more in this end. Yeah, I'm not sure why they switched to the other hand there when Marek had played a really nice double takeout already on a similar line. I think where Jan is pointing to is exactly where I would be throwing this. I'm not sure there's a better shot. Again, they can't block every stone, no matter what they do here. Łukasz Klima will have a shot. They can't block everything, but yeah, I think just about there. What they don't want is to leave some sort of double takeout. We've seen Łukasz Klima be very cute, just catching an edge of the red stone in the third end there, where they scored that nice two. He would love to have another chance at something like that. So I think, yeah, just halfway between the red that's right on the centre and the yellow guard out front. I think that's pretty much where Team Hess wants to put their final stone in this fifth end. And finally put a bit of pressure onto Klima. So again, they're not taking a chance of catching that big curl onto the guard. They've learned their lesson. And they give it a bit of a sweep first to hold it wide, and then let it catch that big curl at the end. That's just run on a little bit. Definitely still one red lying. And I'm not sure if that's now two reds or still just one. But either way, very difficult to remove both of those reds. This is what Team Hess were looking at. As they were deciding what to play with Jan Hess's last shot in this end. They did realise that Klima was going to have some kind of shot, punching the corner guard towards the pile in the middle. The risk with this shot is that if you get it wrong, you might squirt your own yellow out the back and give up a bunch of reds. Missed opportunities in this end, I'm afraid, for Team Klima. They also got caught out on that big curl and lost a stone hitting a guard. Everybody politely moving to the other side of the sheet while the stone is coming up this side. So a bit of a circus shot here. This is a very tricky one to drive that yellow into those two reds. Good luck, Łukasz.
Fine.
So still quite a controlled weight. Doesn't need a big peel weight. I think he's pretty close. He's certainly cut it down to 1. Good effort from Łukasz Klima there. But again, some really nice couple of saving stones from Jan Hess. I'm wondering if the momentum is just moving away from Team Klima now. I think for me, they had the better first half of this game. But they're not quite keeping that pressure on anymore in that fifth end. And I think that will probably be a bit of a confidence boost for Team Hess, in fact. Nicely worked end there. Klima will be regretting not putting a bit more pressure on Team Hess. They had their chances, but still plenty of stones to come in this game. We have a score of 3 points to 2 for Team Hess against Team Klima. 3 ends to play. The other games also in their 6th end, so let's see how everyone else is doing. On sheet A, on the left of our screen, that's a score of a lead of 3-1 for Team Walstad against Team Hürlimann. It's a score of 3-2 here in our featured game between lead of 3 between Jan Hess over Team Klima. On the other next row sheet, sheet C, after 5 ends, it is 4-2 for Team Hösli over Team Iseli from Italy. Nice to see the Italians scoring 2 in the 5th end there to get back into that game. And over on sheet D, a really back and forward game there. It's a score of 5 points to 4 for Team Colli of Italy over Team Sergio Vez of Spain. That sounds like an exciting game over on sheet D. Plenty of stones in play by the sound of it. Team Hess plays Team Sergio Vez tomorrow morning at 11. That will be our featured game at that time. Should be a fun one. Sergio Vez, maybe not even 30 yet, but really a veteran of the game. He's been playing forever. I think he blazed through his 100th game for Spain about 4 or 5 years ago already. So that promises to be an interesting lineup. And the early draw tomorrow at 8 o'clock, the featured game on here on sheet B, that will be Mercier from France, and they will be playing Schnider from Switzerland.
Můžeme tohle? Půjdeme tohle. Mně se to nelíbí. Šel bych takhle.
Tak co?
Long day for Team Klima. They played at 8 o'clock this morning and then they had the rest of the day off. They had a bye at 2 o'clock and now they're on again at 9 o'clock. So first and last draw for them. That could be tough to manage sometimes. To fill in the rest of your day between games. There's no perfect draw though. Everybody has to have their bye at some point.
Okay.
And again, just catching that big curl at the end. That doesn't help them too much. Second guard out front really only helps Team Hess.
Nevím, jestli let, nebo nepřišlo mi to, přijelo to malý. Přijelo to i podle jako hokok času malý, takže... Ale ten oblouk byl teda větší, než si měl předtím vždycky. Jo.
So bright start in the sixth then for Team Hess. We've had a bit of an up and down game here as well. I feel like Team Klima probably had the better of the first half of this game, but I think they seem to have either lost focus a little bit or they're losing that consistency that they really had nicely in that first half. And you can see now Team Hess starting to find that consistency that they weren't quite finding in that first half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stones have played. Free guard zone is over. Team Klima with last stone can now begin removing guards. Big throw from second thrower Yuri Kandra. He's got a little bonus stone in the rings there. Goodness, he's moved everything around there. So Marco taking a step back to have a look. That looks quite different than it did 10 seconds ago. Nice result for Yuri there. That yellow could become useful, that he managed to ping into the house there.
Linie gut. 1, 2. 2. Kannst du noch warten? Curl, Jan. Curl. Ja, ja. Sehr weit. Ja. Halt. Ganz weit. Ganz drüber. Ja, ja. Wegwisch.
Nice stone placement there. This is what was letting them down a little bit in the first half of the game. Team Hess, they weren't quite finding that nice stone placement, but they've definitely tightened that up in the second half. The Czech team, a little bit the opposite. I feel like they were playing more consistently in the first half. And they've had a couple of looser shots in the second half.
Hasi, dobrá!
Yep. Yep. Oh. Oh, oh, oh. Yep. Oh, oh, oh. Okay. We should move the guard.
So he does move the guard, Klima.
Doesn't want to kill the guard.
I think the idea was to get to the shot stone and then roll behind cover on the left, behind that corner guard there on the left of our screen. So it doesn't quite make that, and I think that stone was travelling a bit too quickly that it was going to stop in the rings for a plan B. And that gives Team Hess the chance to put that guard straight back.
Okay.
This is one of the more straightforward shots that Marco Hösli has been facing this evening. He's had a couple of tricky ones already, but they seem to be finding their rhythm at just the right time, Team Hess.
Am Schluss, Claude. Ja, macht das schon gut zu.
This looks like it's there all by itself. No need to sweep for weight. Now they need it to stop, actually. They don't want it coming too far and getting too close to that other red. I think that's found a nice spot there.
Primárně tohle!
Slavte, vy nemohli do Anne.
Kdyby byl široký, tak uděláme tohle.
I'm not sure if the call is the vertical double, so driving that red back to the forefoot, or if he's trying to catch the edge of it and go sideways and remove that red that's also in the front ring. I think going for the raise and driving that back to the forefoot, that makes more sense to me. But maybe he's talking about plan A and plan B. First throw in the 6th end for Marek Czernovsky. Third thrower in the Czech team. He doesn't look happy with that one. I feel like he just touched that a little bit wide again.
Ja. Vind ik goed, ja.
Jsem to měl vzdát. Byl si uší,
Hij is 2
byl
meter.
si veliký docela.
Een meter.
Takže jsem možná dal i blbě let. Já jsem ho hlavně nechtěl prohodit. Jo, já jsem si říkal, že bychom to měli být schopni umést na rozťuk. Několika minut tady jelo rovně předtím.
That familiar, rather upright style.
Asi byl blbě let.
Marco.
Byl si trochu uší, ale byl si i trochu větší.
There you can see again that red still hanging around in the forefoot.
Hele, teďka pánem to nějakou dobu jako otvírat a
So
doufat, že
Marek not making that run back. This looks better for weight from Marco. The last one was there all by itself. It was close to overrunning, but this looks just nice. Much more difficult to drive that red back to the forefoot. You can see the distance between that red and the red in the forefoot circle much bigger. But having said that, indeed, as Łukasz Klima is now indicating, that additional space between those two stones means we may be able to get that red in the forefoot out a different way by throwing more like a backline or a hack weight and using that big curl at the end to draw onto the red in the forefoot. So that's the choice. If you leave your guard rather closer to the rings, you make the run back a bit more attractive, and if you leave the guard a bit shorter of the rings, or a bit further away from the rings, as Marco did there, you do leave space to come around it that gentler way. But I'm not sure this weight is gentle enough. I think he's overthrown this. And that stone's all but going backwards. He hardly catches any of it. They were maybe worried about throwing too little weight and the stone curling, but he's had a decent game, Marek, but not such a good end there in the 6th end. He's leaving Łukasz Klima with a lot of work to do at the moment.
Já vlastně jako většinou to ukazuju jako váhu takhle, ale budu to říkat. 1-3, bylo ten veliký. Yep.
Jan Hess will be very happy with a nice straightforward guard here.
Super linie.
Super length, he says. Yes, it is. And now what do you do to come around in the counterclockwise handle as they tried before? That's what Łukasz is indicating. Not so easy anymore because unfortunately, Marek's previous stone kind of made that angle a lot worse. Not so easy to come round on the counterclockwise handle and get to that red. So I think this makes sense. He can remove both of those bars with this one stone. If he gets that first red just to the left of centre of the stone as we look at it, I think he has a chance to get the pair of them. And at least set himself up with a chance for last stone. I think they're running out of ends though to start building points, Team Klima. Unfortunately, Lukáš, dear, that's made everything worse again. It's these centimetres here and there that makes such a big difference at this level. All he needed was a couple of centimetres further to the left of our screen as we saw it, and he probably would have made the double and rolled away himself, but it just overcurled by 1 or 2 centimetres, and now you can see he's left that yellow out front. You can see had a big sigh looking at that, giving Jan Hess another straightforward shot really, and Lukáš Klima is going to be looking at driving a yellow corner guard into the 4-foot again, I think, as we saw him attempting there in the 5th end. So the wheel's coming off a little bit for Team Klima. It's not a disaster if they lose one more point this end, but then they have to really dig in and win the ends from there. Team Hess is only 1 point ahead, so not the end of the world. If they score one more red, I think Jan Hess has overthrown this. I think he might just about get away with it though. Again, that could be my mistake. That could be what they were aiming for all along. That certainly puts a heap of pressure on Team Klima. I think now red is lying 2. And that's a bit more serious. I think if Klima would lose 1 point at this end, that would give us a score of 4-2. But if they lose 2 points at this end, that would give us a score of 5-2 with only 2 ends to come. That really changes the nature of the task ahead. Yeah, everybody having a look at this. I think this could again be their best and only chance, would be to drive that corner guard into those reds. I don't think the other corner guard is going to help them very much. I don't think the angle is set up for that, and as you can see, it's much further away. So I think, yep, they've got no choice but to go for this. But again, there's no danger to this shot. Red's line 2 anyway, and you can't really make this worse. So he may as well have a go if he gets the angle just right. Can he make 2? I think he can, you know. I think if he gets the angle perfectly, he could ping both of those reds out. The front one should go sideways to our left, and the back one coming straight out backwards. I would love to see this shot if it comes off. This could be a real game saver here from Lukáš. So good luck.
Whoa,
easy. I think he's touched that out again.
Okay.
Decent effort though. He cut it down to 1. He didn't catch quite enough of the corner guard to get the pair of them. But as we said, I think that makes a big difference. That's now a score of 4 points to 2 to Team Hess instead of 5 points to 2, and I think that makes a big difference. That's kept them in the game a little bit. I think to get 2 points back in 2 ends is very doable. to get 3 points back in 2 ends. That's really quite a bigger task. But we need a bit more consistency here from Team Klima. They're making their own lives a bit too difficult if they want to win this game. But that certainly made a difference. Klima's last shot there, so well done. We are back here in lovely Adelboden all weekend. We're back tomorrow. We have 5 draws again tomorrow. Same drill as today. There's a draw at 8 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock and 9 o'clock in the evening. The 9 o'clock round is the quarterfinals. That's typically a very exciting draw. 4 good games going on at the same time. And then on Sunday, we have the semi-finals at 9 o'clock in the morning, followed by the final at 1:30. So we've got tons of curling to join for the weekend. All of the games we're watching here on Sheet B. The camera's always on Sheet B this weekend, and all of these games will be in the video archive on this channel, WCT TV. And you can see all of the scores from all of the games on worldcurlingtour.org, the website. And that's pretty much updated in real time as well while there's a game going on. Another bright start from Rachel Schoenenberger. He's had a really strong game. So we need good stone placement here from Samuel Mokriš, the lead thrower for the Czech team. We're in the 7th end in our featured game here in Adelboden. And there you can see the score behind us. Team Klima need to pick up 2 points in these last 2 ends. They do have last stone in the 7th end. And I reckon the most likely way they will be able to do this is to work really hard and try and give themselves a chance at 2 in the 7th end to level the score, and then go flat out aggressive for the 8th end and try to steal that 8th end. I think that's the most likely way they're going to get this game back. But of course Team Hess, they will know what they're up to. And they will be trying to counter that, which they are doing very nicely. Another lovely stone from Rachel Schoenenberger. Team Hess, on the other hand, what they want to do is try to force Team Klima to only pick up one point in the 7th end. That would make the score 4-3, and Team Hess would have the last shot and be +1 going up the 8th end. That would be a perfect situation for them. And they're making a good effort for it, actually. It wasn't such a good second stone from Samuel Mokriš there. Marco Hösli allowing himself a little smile, because indeed that could be a costly mistake from Samuel Mokriš. I think he's maybe made the 7th end really quite difficult for the rest of his teammates. And Marco Hösli, super sub skip for Team Hess this weekend. They've swapped him for Yves Stocker, who is this weekend playing for Team Hösli. Looks like Marco just wanted to pile the pressure on. He could throw up another guard. And in fact, he is going to throw up another guard, but what he really wanted was to put a second redstone into play. But that's fine where it is. Look at that, 4 guards out front already, blocking the centre and both handles really. Klima has last shot, but he's going to have to hit something here. You never really want to start hitting when you've got last shot, but no way in there at the moment. Yeah, Marco Hösli, as we said, he is skipping Team Hess this weekend, and that's because these 4 guys, Marco Hösli and the rest of Team Hess, they are playing the Universiade representing Switzerland in December, and they're using this weekend as a practice for this formation. And the game we watched earlier on, the 2 o'clock game, that was Team Hösli, who had a really strong win against Team Walstad of Norway, and they have Yves Stocker playing with them for this weekend instead. And that swap seemed to work out well for the rest of Team Hösli. But Team Walstad coming back with, looks like a nice strong game on sheet A on the left of our screen. They're winning that, well, you can see just above Torger's head there. They're winning that 5 points to 1. A big ask for the young Swiss team to get 4 points against the Norwegians in this 8th end. So definitely worth running them out of stones, forcing them to play the game out, but I would really expect that Team Walstad will come bouncing back with a win over there on sheet A. And meanwhile on sheet B, as I said, definitely a game of 2 halves for me in our featured game here. In the first half of the game, I really felt like the Czech team had a bit more consistency. They were putting a bit more pressure, and the second half is really the reverse. Team Hess have really found a bit more consistency and better stone placement with their shots, and Team Klima just starting to let in a few little mistakes. And that rather sums up Team Klima's second half at the moment, as he has spun a second red into the house. It's certainly better than it was. That shot from Iri Kandra. He moved a couple of stones off the middle, but there were quite a few stones in the middle already, and I suspect there's going to be a second centre guard in about 15 seconds time. Now they're sweeping that stone to try to encourage it to curl. Try to catch that big curl at the end. There's definitely a hole in the middle, isn't there? But the better idea is for Team Klima to just ignore that red in the front rings. They need to start getting yellows in the rings and staying there. So a hit and roll on that red in the front ring is probably a bit too difficult. The easier way to get a yellow in somewhat safely is exactly this, is just a nice T-line. Start forcing Team Hess to get out of trouble. As I said, I think the most likely way that Team Klima can grab this game back, there you are, you see the score is 4 points to 2. I think Team Klima would ideally like to make 2 points with the last stone on the 7th end, and then go all out to try and steal a shot against the head. They won't have hammer in last end with their last shot, and that's a decent effort from Marek. There are a couple of ways you can get to that yellow. You can come direct, as Jan seems to be indicating, on a more gentle weight, or you could drive that red on the left of the centre line. You could drive that red back onto yellow, but I quite like that red where it is.
Is okay, ja?
If we remember what is Team Hess's objective for this end, -1 is fine for them. If you're playing tactical bingo, you may have a full card now. So I like this call. I think that red guard, I like it where it is. And a big sweep to try and get it round it though. Oh, he's just made it. Really nice throwing from Marco Hösli there. Very nice shot, yep, brushes in the air. I think he made that just about perfectly. You see he could not really have got any closer to the guard without hitting it. So I think that was pretty much the best result he could have got from that stone. Big smile from Marco, that's nice to see.
Yeah.
Poor old Lukas Klima looking like he's not quite sure what to do here. How do you get a yellow stone in here and get it to stick around? So everybody having a look. This game far from lost, like I said. If they can only pick up 2 in this end, they're right back in the game. The score not that bad really. For me, definitely the momentum has shifted, and in the second half of the game, for me, Team Hess has been the more consistent and putting more pressure on.
Je daleko a vlastně ho nevidím pořádně celým, jo, takže takový. Ale jako jo, může trefit tady ty 2. Ale
so the trouble is there's so many reds hanging around as well. All 6 reds in play, in fact. Wherever you put this red, sorry, wherever you put this yellow, there is likely to be a red close to it. And that means that Jan Hess will have a good chance to remove a yellow, no matter where you put it. So they need to find the best hiding place for a yellow with this stone and try and make it as difficult as possible for Jan Hess. So what's the decision? So in fact the decision is to remove this guard. Looks like he may be thinking of going for the double takeout. I'm sure this doesn't feel very nice when you're a couple of points behind and you really need to grab 2 points back in this end. And we're already on 6th stone and you're having to play a big hit here. That's not a comfortable feeling. But I think he was maybe feeling like they were going to have hardly any option at all. That's exactly what they were going for. And you can see Jan Hess chasing off into sheet C to catch that stone. Now if you're Team Hess, you have 2 stones left. Both teams have 2 stones left. Klima with last shot. I think that's a nice suggestion from Jan Hess. What they want to do here is make it very difficult for Klima to set up getting 2 points. So I think, yeah, if you just play on that red on the right side of the centre line as we see it, I think that would do the job nicely. That would mean that Klima would probably have to again hit something. He would have to move something off the forefoot. And giving him the least opportunity to score 2 points. I think there's a decent chance that Klima will have a shot to score 1 with his last stone, but as we said, that's exactly what Jan Hess would like.
Takže asi možná tady ten inside out. Nesával. Si myslím, že tady si hrál ty na začátku a dával jsem ti hodně lidu a hrál se jsem okolo 11 krát za hodně. A já jsem pak hrál přes čáru a točil málo. Ale z čáry jdou.
This is the other idea, is just let's make sure that yellow goes. Because then, if he's going to score 2 points, Lukáš Klima, both of his stones have to be hanging around at the conclusion of this end. So red currently lying 4 by the look of it. Klima has to get, oh dear, Klima has to get this stone placement really perfect.
Něco se ti nezdá? Z čáry dolů to točilo celý zápas. Takže... Jo. Před ksicht za žlutý corner guard.
I think he may prefer to punch this red through and roll to our right behind that yellow corner guard. This yellow has to hang around though if they're going to have any chance of making 2 points. And they really need 2 points to get back into this game. I'm not sure 1 point is going to be enough. And it's neither one nor the other. They've left that yellow wide open. And I don't think they're going to have any chance to score 2 in this end unless Jan really muffs this shot. A wide open yellow, plenty of space behind. This should be fairly straightforward for him. And then Klima is going to have to score 1. He can't afford to lose any more points.
Já jsem vlastně v půlce přemýšlel, jestli tam jako neposlat Radka, aby to neskusil na ten roll za ty červený, ale to mi přišlo tak marný, že jsem to vzal.
Everybody sounding pretty happy with this. And I think he's even going to get a bit of a roll. It just rolls a little too far. But yeah, no chance to get 2 points here. And Lukáš Klima is facing 5 reds. Bit of a match point there, I would say, for Team Hess. Facing 5, never very nice.
No.
And if Lukáš Klima does not get this shot correct, that could already be a game over right here. Essential that he gets this yellow to score 1 point.
Yep.
Don't worry about the camera wobbling, that's just the other games having finished and players opening the door to leave the ice hall. You can see on the left, on sheet A, that was a nice bounce back from Team Walstad. They have won that game 5 points to 1 against Team Hürlimann. And the other games on sheet C and D, they're still ongoing. This looks like a nice effort from Lukáš Klima, and it has to be. You can see Samuel Mokrish holding it the whole way up there. Great effort from Lukáš Klima. And didn't it have to be? Just hanging on by their fingernails to this game, Team Klima. That was a great shot. If he got that wrong, that was a game over. That's 1 point then to yellow. And that makes the score 4 points to 3. Going into the final 8th end here. +1 with hammer to Jan Hess, so that should be advantage Switzerland. And I imagine we will see a fairly classical setup going on. Team Klima has to play aggressive. They will try and throw up 2 guards. I imagine they will be throwing this guard. Where do you think? I imagine they will be throwing it just over the hog line. And then I'm pretty sure super sub skip Marco Hösli will ask Reto Schönenberger to try the tick shot. Let's see. First things first, Samuel Mokrish wants to get this stone in a nice placement.
No. To určitě ne. No, bude...
Teď už 4 nic neuděláme.
Dvojka, no.
Teď už je pozdě.
There we are.
Furt budou na dobrém místě ty kameny, když zahraje chip.
Run on a little bit, but that's found a good spot. And as predicted, Marco Hösli asking Reto to try the tick shot to move the yellow off that centre line, but not out of play. Now if Reto can make even one of these tick shots, that will help his team enormously in this 8th end.
Yeah. Back. Yeah. Oh, back.
This looks pretty nice. He just wants to catch an edge of it. He can't push it too far. If this goes out of play, it will go back, but it's not going out of play. That's a great shot from Reto. That's helped his team hugely to push this game over the finish line. You'll be able to see photos from this event on the Facebook site. The link is on the tournament site, the competition website. To Facebook and Instagram there. Same drill for Team Klima. So Samuel Mokrish has really done as best he can to try to save this situation. And if Reto can play the same shot again here. This is all but a game over. It's a bit faster, says Jan. And it looks like it's on a slightly thinner line. And I'm not sure he's quite got it this time. He has not, so that will go back to where it was.
Yeah, a bit snap to center.
But as we say, that's a very difficult shot to get right.
Yeah,
And
it was over the central line.
as I said before the end, if Reto can even get one tick shot, which he did beautifully with his first stone, that's already a huge help. So don't be disappointed, Reto. He's had a very strong game.
The red one touched this a little bit. I bounced it back.
Okay. No problem. Perfect. Okay, thanks.
Jan just explaining that the red stone just nudged that other red, the corner guard that was already there. It just touched it a couple of centimetres. And as we saw previously, when there's a free guard zone violation, it's up to the non-offending team to put the stones back where they feel that they were.
Hej, jsme rychlí.
Dobrý, tak nic, tak jenom dočistím.
My nesmíme.
Ale on ten biter tolik nevadí.
If Team Klima just needed one point here to steal, I would think they maybe have a decent chance at it. Mind you, if they steal one, then they will go to an extra end, but then they're going to have to steal all over again. And 5 stones have been played, free guard zones over. No need to be dainty with this way. And big throw from Simon Gloer.
6 stopů, brat.
Not always as easy as it looks, closing out a game. Team Hess still has to make their shots. Pretty clear tactically what has to happen, but sometimes the nerves can get to you.
2+3! Spíš hodně! Jedem! Spíš nohy! No.
Tak jenom ať se něco nestane.
First stone of the 8th end for Yuri Kandra.
On není tak dlouhý.
Wants to replace that guard. That's found a good spot again.
Ten obluk je takový, jaký měl být, jenom prostě byl
You
kratší.
can see they prefer to keep that yellow a little bit closer to the hog line, because if you get your angle wrong, then it could squirt back either onto the red or the yellow corner guard and maybe spin itself back into play. So that's why they want to keep it closer to the hog line and not too close to the house. But Simon Glure being asked for same again, please. Gives that a bit of a push to send it on its way. And no trouble there. And nicely misses those corner guards, so no spinning anything back into play, no mistake there. A bit dispiriting for Klima. They just have to, again, be patient. They just have to keep playing the aggressive stone. Don't let it get to you that Team Hess are hitting everything. The only way that Klima can score here is if Team Hess makes a mistake. If Team Hess play their 8 shots, Klima cannot get this to an extra end anyway, so they need a mistake from Team Hess, and they just have to persist with this aggressive tactic and really cross their fingers and see if they can get a half shot or a miss from Team Hess. Remember, if you're going to score when you don't have last shot, this will only happen if your opposition makes a mistake anyway. If your opposition plays their 8 stones, you are not going to steal the end without last stone. And I think that's run on a little bit too far now, that guard. That's not as close to the hog line as they wanted. And I think Marco Hösli will have a chance to make a double takeout here, and that could really put the game out of reach, I think, for Team Klima. If he makes this double. He's certainly got one. Is it going to catch the pair of them? Not quite. Oh, he just catches a molecule of that stone in the rings. Team Klima still clinging on to this game. Stranger things have certainly happened. Final throw of the 8th end for Marek Černovský.
Mohl bych cípnout možná. Vypadá lepší trochu.
Let's see if they find a better place for this stone. Okay. I think it's a little bit better. That's a slightly better angle than his first shot. Same idea though from Marco. Let's just try and keep the centre clear. Has he got the double this time? He sure has. Removes the yellow from the house, but he does leave that red stone out front, which Klima will gladly use. Running out of chances a little bit, Team Klima. They've only got 2 stones left. They need to grab at least 1 point to keep this game going.
Okay, to znamená oproti tomu draw, co jsem hrál tady, mám ubrat trochu? Se myslím taky.
So that red in quite a good place for Team Klima actually. It's far enough away from the forefoot that it will be a difficult shot for Jan Hess to drive the red back onto the forefoot, but it looks like his line's all over the place at the moment. That's nowhere near curling round behind the guard. So he had a decent weight, but I'm not sure what happened to the line on that shot. You can see that's, I'm not sure any of that yellow's hidden. Couple of choices here. That yellow's wide open. You can easily remove that yellow. The other option is, do you want to just remove that centre guard? Now, if you remove that centre guard, then whatever Łukasz Klima does with his last stone, you are making your life a bit easier. So I think that's probably the right call. I think that's what I would do, is just remove that centre guard. If you remove that yellow that's in the house, you are simply giving Łukasz Klima a second chance to make that shot. So I think removing the guard is exactly the right call. Then whatever Klima does with his 8th stone, I think Jan Hess should have easier shot, supposing he makes this one nicely. Sounds like they're quite happy with it, yep. Very nice. There you can see, if Klima plays a guard, then the whole of the clockwise hand is open for Jan Hess. If he puts another one in the house, same drill really. For me, that was definitely the right call to remove that centre guard. Don't give him the chance to just play behind it better. I would think that Łukasz Klima does want this stone at least touching the rings though, because then yellow will be lying 2. And if there is somehow a disaster with Jan Hess's final stone, a steal of 2 would actually win them the game, somewhat surprisingly. So I imagine they won't want this yellow too close. They don't want to leave Jan a nice easy double takeout. But I think they would definitely want this yellow to be at least touching the rings.
Fine.
And then they've done everything they can to give themselves a chance at hanging on to this game.
Směry dobré, jenom dílkou. Jenom dílkou. Místa hodně, jenom dílkou.
Super.
Yep, that's pretty good there.
4-5.
But it doesn't really change what Jan's going to do. This is exactly what they were playing for, the whole end. They need a nice 4-foot draw from 4th thrower Jan Hess. That's what Jan expects to have to do. He expects to have to draw the 4-foot to win the game for the team. And Klima have given themselves every chance to hang on to this game. Jan needs to be fully 4-foot with this stone, otherwise that yellow just hanging onto the 4-foot, otherwise that will score 1. But really this is exactly the kind of end tactically that Team Hess were working for. And Jan Hess knows that this shot's coming. That's what he expects. You see the length is super. The sweeper's got it. It looks like the sweepers are judging it really nicely. I think that's just perfect. Great shot there from Jan Hess to finish the game. Really nicely done. So a bit closer than it might have felt out there. Really professional shot there at the end, though, from Jan Hess to win that 8th end and the game for their team. Congratulations to Team Jan Hess. They will take a stone down to the other end to do their draw shot challenge for first round tomorrow. And yeah, a bit of a game of lost chances there for Team Klima. I think they had the better of the first half, but then just some mistakes started creeping in there. That's a tidy window for Team Hess. 2 wins out of 2 for them today. They'll be very happy with that performance, especially, as we've said, they've swapped a player. They have Marco Hösli playing in their team for this weekend, and they've swapped out Yves Stocker. So that combination seems to be working nicely, and seems to be working nicely for the rest of Team Hösli, playing with Yves as well. So the stones coming up, nothing to do with the game we just saw. That's a win for Team Hess. They're just doing their draw shot challenge for tomorrow's game. And Yves, having just drawn the pin perfectly, just overthrows that a little bit, but he drew the pin when it counted. And the other 2 games that are still playing this evening, they're on their 8th end as well. And both of them very close. Next door on sheet C, I can tell you that after 7 ends, the score is 6-5 to Team Hösli, playing with Yves Stocker. And they have last stone going into the 8th end. And over on sheet D, they've only put out the score for the 6th end, but that's a score of 6-4 for Team Colli from Italy against Team Sergio from Spain. You can catch up with all the scores at worldcurlingtour.org. Next draw here at ADELBODEN for the 2nd ADELBODEN International is tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. There's a lovely draw shot from Lukasz Klima there. I think that they must be wondering why they couldn't have found a few more of those in the past couple of hours. But yeah, next draw here in ADELBODEN is 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, European. And our featured game will be Team Mercier from France. So that's a relatively new team to watch against Team Schnider. And Team Schnider, I'm sure they will fancy getting to the quarterfinals. They missed out on the quarterfinals in Baden by 7 centimetres, that was all. So they will be definitely looking to build on that. So that will be our featured game. I think we will just have the split screen for that. I think we will be, again, recharging the chat batteries for a busy day, busy schedule tomorrow. So we will be back at 11 o'clock, where we shall be able to watch Team Hess, and they will be playing Team Sergio from Spain. So that promises to be a fun encounter as well. So thank you for joining us today. Do come back and join us again tomorrow. Bye for now.